how to never stress about difficult people again, plus how to master uncomfortable conversations in 3 simple steps. And this will be one of the most important episodes I will ever record, as I know that many of us struggle with difficult people and difficult conversations. And the toll it has on our mental health, our emotional health, our happiness, our success, our relationships. So I am going to give you a simple framework, okay, on how to interact with difficult people, how to master those relationships with difficult people. And this is after 20 plus years of study, research, and practice, learning from some of the best experts in the world on psychology, relationships, and also spiritual experts as well, some of the greatest spiritual teachers. Let's start with, in terms of our framework of uh, how to master those difficult relationships, 3 key steps here. Step number 1 is to forgive. Okay. I want you to understand that being angry and resentful towards someone else is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Okay. So I want you to forgive them for you first. Okay. For them as well, but for you first, I need you to forgive that person that is causing you stress and frustration, that difficult relationship. And I'm going to share with you some thoughts on this, on forgiveness and having empathy and compassion for others. Here's a quote from Wendy Mass: "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about." Here's a quote from the book Excellent Advice for Living by Kevin Kelly. Outstanding book of quotes and thoughts on all aspects of life. "When someone is nasty, hateful, or mean towards you, treat their behavior like an affliction or illness they have. That makes it easier to have empathy toward them, which can soften the conflict." Here's a quote from Dr. Stephen R. Covey, wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. "If I were to summarize in one sentence the single most important principle I have learned in the field of interpersonal relations, it would be this: seek first to understand, then to be understood." So try to understand where this person is coming from, and try to understand there's a battle going on that we know nothing about. Try to understand that they may have personal issues, mental health issues. Try to understand where this person is coming from. Makes it much easier to forgive, to empathize, to show compassion. Here's a question from Dr. James Lohr, wrote the book The Power of Full Engagement. He says, "How am I that? Only that which we cannot accept within ourselves do we find impossible to live with in others. Think for a moment of someone you actively dislike. What quality in that person do you find most objectionable? Now ask yourself, how am I that?" Okay, principle 2, mastering these difficult relationships. Choose thoughts that serve you. Choose thoughts that serve you. You get to choose your thoughts on the situation. Okay, and there's a great formula for about this I learned from Jack Canfield in the book The Success Principles, and it goes like this. Here's Jack. "There's a little formula that I learned that is very, very powerful. It really is the basis of everything I teach. It says E plus R equals O. What it stands for is there are events in your life, you have a response to them, and that creates outcomes. Everything in your life that you experience, whether you love it or you complain about it, is an outcome of how you responded to earlier events." Here's a quote from Warren Buffett: "You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional response to everything that is said to you. True power is sitting back and observing things with logic. True power is restraint. If words control you, that means everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass." Principle number 3, run towards the fear. What fear am I talking about? Uncomfortable conversations. Here's some thoughts on that, and then I will lay out for you a 3-step framework to have successful conversations with someone who may be difficult. Okay, let's go back to the book Excellent Advice for Living from Kevin Kelly. Your growth as a mature being is measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations you are willing to have. Here's a quote from Tim Ferriss, author of Tools of Titans, also has a very successful podcast. Tim says a person's success in life can visually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Here's a quote from Greg McKeown, author of Essentialism, outstanding book on living. When we say no, after the initial short term annoyance, disappointment, or anger of the other person wears off, the respect kicks in. Okay, let's talk about our framework for having these difficult conversations. And I want you to reframe this. I call these heroic conversations, not difficult ones, heroic ones, because when you have these conversations, you're making a heroic choice for the both of you. All right. So here is step one thing on paper. I want you to focus on one key point and one key point only. Cover 1 to 3 things that back up that one key point. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Write it out in simple bullet points. Okay, I don't care if you use a napkin or write it on a crayon. I want it to be so simple. Just get it done. Done is better than perfect. I want it to be simple and I want it to be done. Okay, so focus on one thing and one thing only in the relationship, something that's stressing you, okay, giving you frustration. Focus on the number one thing and number one thing only. And then have 1 or 2 or 3 key bullet points to back that up. Okay. So I want you to state it simply and I want you to state it with certainty. And the simpler you make it, the more certain you'll speak. Here's a quote from Jocko Willink, retired Navy SEAL commander and author of Extreme Ownership. Who do you pay more attention to? The person who makes 100 statements or the person who makes one statement? How much do you gather from those 100 statements? It's a limited amount. It's 1% per statement. If a person says one thing, how much percent attention do you pay to that? 100%. All right. So what he's saying is it'll land much better. Okay. And that person will be able to absorb what you're saying if you keep it simple. Focus on one thing. Also, it's an extremely powerful exercise. And you can do this in many aspects of your life to get it out of your head and onto paper. Take 60 seconds and just write it out on paper. Get your thoughts organized. Don't let it bounce around in your head like a ping pong ball and an open loop. I want you to get your thoughts organized. I want you to simplify. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Step number 2, seek expertise and feedback. So now we're getting it out of our head and onto paper, and we're going to get it out of our head and out there to a trusted advisor, a mentor, a coach, respected family member, a friend. So here's what I want you to do. Get it out of your head and discuss it and or role play it. What you'll say with a trusted advisor, such as a coach, a mentor, your boss, a therapist, or a respected friend or family member. All right. So you can take the step before to get it out of your head and onto paper, get your thoughts organized. Now I want you to take it a next step and talk to a trusted advisor to help you get your thoughts organized, to say, okay, this is accurate. I understand what you're saying. Maybe don't say this part though, because it's only going to make it worse, or get some clarity on this part of what you're saying. I need to simplify this. I don't understand. Okay. That it's going to it's going to do 2 things for you. It's going to help you maximize the chances of the conversation being successful because you're bouncing it off a respected, trusted advisor. Okay. Not just anybody, but somebody you respect and trust. So you're maximizing your chances of getting this right. And also it's an exercise in simplicity. Okay. You're simplifying your thoughts down once again to what's most important. So it'll land better. And also you potentially get some repetitions in terms of a role play. Okay. And lastly, it'll give you more certainty when you speak because your trusted advisor or advisors have said, yeah, this is accurate. What you're saying is good. It's right. And how you're saying it is good. Okay. So you're going to go in there with more confidence. Step 3 is high warmth. Okay. This is very important. This is a step so many people miss. They may get it right in terms of their message. They may show up with certainty and conviction in their voice and confidence in what they're saying, but they don't show up with warmth. And now it's a confrontation, not a conversation, which is the last thing you want. Okay. So I want you to think about this. This is a conversation, not a confrontation. This is high warmth. Okay. More about high warmth. I need you to listen. Okay. Strive to create a win-win situation for the both of you. Forgive. Show empathy and compassion. Be respectful. Let them keep their dignity by doing it one on one, okay, without an audience, without embarrassing them. And then move forward, okay? I want you to show up to give and serve. I want you to show up with love. I promise you, the conversation will go much better. Your message will land much better, and you have a much greater chances of success, much greater chance of success. Here's a question from Paul Check. Okay, he says, if you ask the question, what would love do now? And you answer it honestly, you'll get the same answer your soul would give. So I want you to ask yourself before you go in there, what would love do now? You know this. Love would listen, it would serve, it would forgive, it would show compassion, empathy. That's what love would do. All right. So in review here, in terms of our framework to never stress about difficult people again, we have to change. We have to forgive. Number one. Number one is forgive. Number two is choose thoughts that serve you. Okay. Understand that you can choose how you respond to this person. That's always your choice. You always have control of your thoughts. Okay. You always have that choice. And the more you practice that E plus R equals O formula, event plus response equals outcome, the better you'll get at it. And it will change your life. I promise. And then number three is run towards the fear of the uncomfortable conversations. Have the conversation. Like, do hard things, do things that challenge you. Right? This is the fastest path to success. First, we change our mindset in terms of forgiveness and choosing thoughts that serve us, and then we take a key action step. Well, how do we have that conversation? Get it out of your head and onto paper. Focus on the number one thing and one thing only that you want to discuss. Number two is seek expertise and feedback on what you're going to say to this person. And number three is show up with high warmth. Right? I've practiced this. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Again, I've learned from some great psychologists and spiritual teachers. Combine the best of the best material. I've practiced this, what I've laid out for you for decades now. And I've personally had a lot of success with it. Okay. It's increased my happiness, reduced my stress. Okay. It's helped me also serve others to the best of my ability to have the positive impact I want to have on people. All right. Making those mindset shifts of forgiveness, choosing my thoughts, and then taking the right action in terms of having a framework for that difficult conversation, running towards the fear of doing it and just doing it. Right. I want you to think of the one person you need to have that difficult conversation with right now, personally or professionally. And my challenge to you is to have that conversation within the next week or two. Follow the steps. Okay. Do the steps as I laid out to you. Test it out. Try it for yourself. Okay. I want you to see how well it works. Don't just trust me. Actually go through it. All right. Try it out for yourself. My challenge to you is to identify that one person and have that conversation in the next week or two. And these conversations can be done in as little as 60 seconds, by the way. All right. These don't have to be long conversations. They can be longer if they need to be, but they can be done. And the whole process of getting it out of your head and onto paper, 60 seconds or less, talking to a trusted advisor, 60 seconds or less, having that conversation, 60 seconds or less. You can do this in under 5 minutes. So there's no excuse not to do it anymore because I laid it out for you, the framework, the blueprint, the roadmap. I wish you an elevated life of success, happiness, and positive impact.